Welcome into Got It Covered as we're just about halfway through the NFL season. Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani with you. And, buddy, we're a week past the midway point. A lot to talk about here. A lot of overarching storylines that continue to develop in the NFL. And we'll break down some of our midseason picks for our awards. And then at the tail end, we'll take a peek at this upcoming week as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's really flown by. I can only speak from my perspective. Most NFL seasons I've watched, my team's season is over by now. And that wasn't the case last year. And last year was a blast. It was the most fun year of my life. I was not expecting it to be the case this year, but it is. So, I feel extremely detached from my team. Obviously, I'm still doing everything the same. Like, I'm still listening to podcasts every day. I'm still obviously watching every game and going back and watching film and everything like that. But I feel so much more detached because there's nothing of value, respectfully, or there's nothing at stake in any of these games other than if you win, you risk sliding back in the draft and getting a worse pick, which is a shame. That's not something I ever wanted to feel again. But all this to say, I'm in a very familiar spot where the energy I usually put into the Commanders is spent at a 10,000 foot kind of bird's eye view level of looking at the rest of the league as a whole. And I think as much as I don't enjoy not being, super enthusiastic about my team, I enjoy being super enthusiastic about the rest of the league. So this is going to be an interesting second half for me because I'm going to be pouring a lot of attention into teams that are not my own. So it just means I'm going to put in a lot more effort to being wrong in all my predictions moving forward.
Well, I'm going to try my hardest to not join you in that camp.
You'll be fine.
Although Buffalo continues to make it difficult to feel that way, losing 3 of its last 5 games as it currently stands. But nevertheless, let's get into some of those overarching storylines in the NFL from this past week and beyond. It feels like Buffalo is honestly a really good place to start. This is a Bills team that I had mentioned have lost 3 of the last 5 losses to Atlanta. Lost to New England, of course, was the one that ignited it all. And then most recently, dismantled, blown out for the first time in a long time since Josh Allen's been the quarterback. It was on the road in Miami, a Miami team that, listen, this is the NFL and any team can put things together any given week, especially within the division. But this is a Miami team that is struggling this season. So for Buffalo to go play that game that they did, turn the ball over 3 times, Josh being responsible for 2 of them, the defense really not being able to stop a nosebleed when it came to the run game. This was the worst Buffalo loss of the season and maybe in a few years for Josh Allen and the Bills. And it came off the heels of that highest of highs after beating the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo. What is the takeaway? What is the assessment here? Is this a Bills team that can get to the Super Bowl? Because it certainly didn't look like it on Sunday.
I say no, but I think as bad as it's looked, it's not. This is going to sound weird. I feel like it's not as bad as it seems. And it seems really bad because they're losing all these games. But I think what's bitten them really is a lack of execution across the board. I still think that Buffalo is a good team if they execute. You look at the Dolphins game in particular, they didn't score until the 4th quarter, but they had several opportunities to do so. They throw an interception in the end zone. They turn the ball, or they're missing field goals, or turning the ball over deep in enemy territory. Those are the things that make you say, yeah, good teams aren't supposed to do that. But I know that the quarterback is obviously good enough and the team is seemingly good enough to correct those mistakes and move forward. But it is starting to become a trend. These are problems that have surfaced against teams like Atlanta, and even the Jets game was a bit of a slog if you go back to week 2. Now Miami, who by the way played you pretty well once already in the first meeting back in Buffalo in September. So right. The Bills, they just strike me as a team that's always going to play to their level of competition. They're going to get up for the Chiefs. but then they're going to get down and slum it with the Dolphins and the Falcons. Like, that is a concern. But when you get to the playoffs and you're playing playoff teams, don't you think they can rise to that occasion? They've already beaten Baltimore and Kansas City this year. That gives me enough confidence to say, yeah, if they play Tampa Bay this week, they're going to go win that game because they're going to rise to that level of competition. They just got to get these stinkers out of the way. And really, they need to get healthy. But they obviously can win the Super Bowl. They were never my pick to do it, but it's obvious that they can. They just need to maybe put together for the first time. The Chiefs game was won, but the first time in a non-Chiefs game, a comprehensive performance.
The tough thing is they can't mess around anymore at this point, right? Like the schedule ahead of Buffalo has stiffened up a little bit compared to maybe what you had thought it was going to be heading into this point of the season. And on top of it, now the Patriots are feeling a little bit more comfortable with their lead in the AFC East. So Buffalo's looking at a situation where they're probably going to have to go on the road. They could be one of the later wild cards. And things are pretty difficult in front of them. So their next set of games here, Tampa Bay and Buffalo, at Houston, at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati and Buffalo, at New England, at Cleveland. They play Philly, the Jets, the Giants, Chicago. So, I'm reading preseason. My bad. They end with the Jets. No Giants, no Chicago. That was preseason. But again, that Tampa game's tough. Houston all of a sudden is looking decent. Pittsburgh, what are you going to get there? Joe Burrow is going to be back by December 7th for Cincinnati, you'd think. And that's a storyline we'll get into. That game at New England is huge. Like, it's not as easy as it looked maybe 5 weeks ago.
No. And you're looking up at the Patriots, who have the cakiest schedule in the league.
Yeah.
So I would venture to guess right now. Obviously, it's an uphill climb. I don't actually think I can make any concrete statements about who I think is going to win the division because I still have some doubts about the Patriots. But they have banked so many wins, and the rest of their schedule is so easy. They haven't played the Jets yet. Like, they played the Jets for the first time on Thursday Night Football. They're going to play the Dolphins again eventually. And the rest of their non-division schedule is again a total cakewalk. So there's a real shot that the Patriots wind up with 13 wins or so.
They might be the 1 seed.
They could be the 1 seed in the AFC. You're going to be looking up at them if you're Buffalo for the rest of the season. And I don't know that there's enough ground to be gained that they're going to take a step back and you're going to beat these teams if you're the Bills. So I would guess today that New England wins this division.
I agree. So
that just makes it all the more tough, especially because if you're Buffalo, what if you have more losses than you said a deeper wild card team? That means you're going to go on the road and play you're not going to go on the road and play, I don't know, the Ravens, which could be difficult. Don't get me wrong, but you could have to go play the Patriots maybe in the first round. You could be a reverse situation of what we saw in 2021. So
I'd actually probably rather play the Patriots than the Ravens.
I think so too. Honestly, the wild card teams might be better than the division winners in the AFC. If the wild card teams are the Chargers, Chiefs, and Bills, and the division winners are the Patriots, Broncos, and Colts, like
that's
okay.
True.
I'll put my faith in Mahomes and Josh Allen. I would still pick that to be the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's true. You just got to hope if you're Buffalo, you have a higher seed than Kansas City, and it has to run through Orchard Park at that point.
That is true.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Patriots. I wanted to ask you this question. Is this success more credit to Mike Vrabel or Drake May, who's looking like the MVP favorite at this point in the season? And isn't it so New England that we're having this conversation again? Is it more the coach or the quarterback for the Patriots?
Yes. I give a ton of credit to Elliott Wolf, the general manager. They made all the right moves in this offseason, right? Vrabel was the centerpiece, but, they drafted Drake May when they stayed at 3 and drafted Drake May when they were fielding offers from all these other teams that wanted to trade up and get him, right? I think it was the Vikings and the Giants that had very comprehensive offers to try and move up to 3 to draft Drake May. Vikings got JJ McCarthy now. That's not looking too hot. And then hiring Vrabel, and you draft Will Campbell in the first round, you draft Travion Henderson, and you stuck it out with Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas, and you brought in Stephon Diggs, and you brought in all these really, really highly impactful defensive players that have transformed this roster. And it's one thing to say, like, oh, they are playing cakey teams, like I just said, but you got to play the teams that are in front of you.
Sure.
You know, I've said it before on this program, this team just reminds me so much of Washington from last year. And we had a tremendously easy schedule last year. And they were 7-3 at this point in the season, through 10 games in 2024, just because you got to play the teams that are in front of you. I think the difference is those 3 losses for Washington at this point last year were Tampa Bay, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. All 3 of those teams went to the postseason, obviously. And then they lost to the Eagles to go to 7-4. That team won the freaking Super Bowl. So of the 5 teams that Washington lost to last year, 4 of them were playoff teams, and the other one was the Dallas Cowboys. So the Patriots are winning with more conviction, and I think that has a lot to do, obviously, with Drake May. But you look at last week's game against Tampa Bay, I don't know why Drake May is the MVP favorite after that game specifically, because the knockout punches were delivered by Travion Henderson. That was the Travion Henderson breakout game. Finally, they get him super involved because Ramondre Stevenson was hurt, right? So finally, they have to get Henderson super involved. And, you know, Drake May has a fantastic stat line at the end of the game. He also threw a pass to Kyle Williams that Williams just took up to the house. And that was a hell of a throw by Drake May. I'm not taking that away from him. But, like, he's an MVP candidate. He's arguably the MVP front runner. He's been a top 3 quarterback in the league this year, I would say. It's probably like him, Sam Darnold, and you can put whoever you want at third, to be honest with you. But they've probably been the 2 best quarterbacks in the league this year, at least from an efficiency standpoint. Stafford's probably in the conversation too. So I don't know who to give the specific share of credit to. There's like a big pie, and everybody's got like a third of it. I'm like, all right, Elliott Wolf gets a third, and Vrabel gets a third, and Drake May and the rest of their goons get a third. But they are an interesting team to monitor because, you know, last year going into the playoffs, a lot of teams weren't afraid of that Washington Commanders team because they were like, whatever, first year quarterback, and they don't have this level of talent as other teams do in coaching or whatever. Vrabel's a guy that's been there, done that, has been a 1 seed before, has been to an AFC championship game before, obviously played under Bill Belichick. Like, I think to your point about the Patriots being a wagon, I don't know if they're wagon status yet, but they are going to be a Super Bowl contender when January rolls around.
I agree.
And like Washington last year, you see what quarterback play can do to put you over the top in playoff games. Drake May is built for the moment, and I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I will say, just to put it out there, I don't want to be a negative Nancy or anything, but I feel like he needs to have that signature moment, that like signature MVP moment, and it'll probably come at some point later in the season.
It wasn't against the Bills when he hit Diggs on it.
It was a week 5 game in Buffalo, bro. It was like 60 degrees. I understand it was a impressive victory, but now the Bills are like, if your signature moment is beating the 6th seed in your conference by, you know, and the kicker kicked the game-winning field goal, like is that an MVP moment necessarily? Sure. I don't know, but I think it'll come eventually. And there's a real shot he wins MVP.
I think it is. I think huge credit to Drake May, but I do think it is more Vrabel than May in the sense that when you look at exactly what they're doing, they're pretty strong across the board, right? It's not like, oh, the passing game is the only thing that's dominant for the Patriots. Like no, they're actually -1 in turnovers, right? So they're turning the ball over a little bit. But the defense for New England currently top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 8 in the league. And then you look at what they've done on the offensive side of the ball. They're middle of the pack in rushing. They're definitely towards the top in passing. And in total offense, they're top 10 in the league as well. So I just feel like they're a well-rounded bunch, right? Particularly with how strong the defense has been, being top 8 in the league. And that's where I think you can kind of tip the cap to Vrabel a little bit in the situation and not put it solely on the shoulders of Drake May. But I mean, across the board, they're a tough out, Super Bowl contenders. That was a big win against Tampa Bay. I was very curious to see how that one would shake out, and now the Bills get them this week in Buffalo. Looking furthermore, continued dominance out of the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams continue.
That's a wagon.
The Rams?
The Seahawks.
The Seahawks and the Rams, I think.
And the Rams are both wagons.
They might
they're
be the
only
two best
two
teams in the NFL.
I was going to say the same thing. They're the only 2 teams I'm giving wagon status to right now.
Okay. If there's a wagon in the AFC, I feel like it's the Pats right now. Chiefs just lost, so.
I don't think there's a wagon in the AFC.
Have the Patriots lost in the month of October? I don't think so.
They haven't lost since they started 2-2. They were 2-2 going into Buffalo.
Exactly.
Remember, so they've won 6 in a row.
Exactly.
I would have said the Colts, but they got crushed by the Steelers, and that's a taste I can't get out of my mouth.
Right. No, I think the 2 best teams in the league right now probably are Seattle and Los Angeles. Yeah. Lions, they beat up on your Commanders. Chargers get another win. The Packers, man. The Packers offense stinks.
Yeah, they're so dumb, the Packers. Like, I don't even want to talk about them. They piss me off because you want to talk about a team that plays to their level of competition. They do defensively, but their offense is always stuck in neutral. I mean, we haven't seen their offense put together any performance worth the dang since the Cowboys game, which was a month ago. I know that the Steelers game, obviously on Sunday Night Football, was very impressive, but they've been terrible since then.
Yeah.
They've scored 2 touchdowns since that coming out party on Sunday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. So I don't know. The Eagles are fine, but I didn't really learn anything about them in that game other than the fact that they hate AJ Brown.
Give me your top 4 teams in the AFC and then your top 4 teams in the NFC right now.
Do I have to give you them in order?
No. Just the 4.
Okay. In the NFC,
and don't think about division winners either. It doesn't have to be
yeah. Yeah, in the NFC, it would be Seattle, LA, Detroit, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In the AFC,
I think Tampa's that 5. I think Tampa's like 5 or 6.
Honestly, and I wanted to talk about this when we talked about the Patriots game. I don't think the Buccaneers are all bad. I think they have a bit of an inflated record because they had a horseshoe up their butt the first month of the season and won every game on the last play. And that's not super sustainable because then the wheels fall off. And now you're seeing the injuries catch up to them. And Baker Mayfield is throwing bad picks in the red zone, in the end zone, I should say, against the Patriots. And they started 5-1 and now they're 6-3. Like, you're kind of starting to see a regression to the mean. I have no doubt that they're good and they're talented, but they're not. They could be 5, but I don't think they're on that level of the top 4. Like, they scream another wild card exit at home this year for me. Tampa Bay does. So I don't know. Like, the AFC is such a mess, bro.
Sure.
But the top 4 in the AFC, I would say Colts, Patriots, Chiefs, Chargers.
See, how do you not put Buffalo there if Buffalo beat the Chiefs?
Because that one game does not dictate everything for me. The Bucks beat the Seahawks. You don't see me putting the Bucks in the conversation above the Seahawks in the NFC.
Yeah, valid.
And I know it was different
games.
The
Bills are better than the Chargers. Although the Chargers continue to find ways to get somebody on offense going. And like every other week, it's somebody new, whether it's McConkey or Rondé Gadsden. Like they find a new guy every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and they're doing it with a makeshift offensive line.
Right. They're
doing it with a shorthanded running game. I think Herbert's been really impressive in the last few weeks, right? They've won 3 in a row now. And
they might have the best coach in the league.
They might. They're well coached across the board, right? Jesse Minter's doing a fantastic job with that defense. Since Khalil Mack has been back, you can see the type of impact that makes.
Yep.
So they're on the upward trend. A lot of this right now, to answer the question, is so much about where these teams are right now. Like Tampa and Buffalo are kind of going like this, but the Chargers, Seahawks, Rams are kind of going like this. It's funny because I say the Chargers and the Chiefs, neither of them are leading that division. It's Denver. But I think we all know Denver ain't doing nothing with Bo Nix at quarterback.
Yeah.
Unless you disagree. Does Denver make your top 4?
No, and it really only comes down to the quarterback play, to be honest with you. Now, there's been times where when he's on, he's on. Is my camera glitching out? Of course it is, but you keep rolling while I fix that. But there's been times where when he's on, and there's been other times where he's pretty dreadful.
It's funny because I feel like the Denver faithful I see online, they always talk about how his total touchdown figure is like the end all be all, and that's what makes him great. And he can't possibly be bad just because there's a lot of touchdowns to go around. But in reality, there's a lot more games that look like the Jets game or the Raiders game most recently, or those first few quarters against the Giants that you're just like, I don't like what I see out of Bo Nix. And it's nothing against Nix. It's just the fact that he's not reliable. He's not trustworthy. He's got bad mechanics. He overthrows everybody. He's just too much of him this week, because that's the litmus test in the division is the Chiefs. So we'll see how they play against the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to win, but if they do, I wouldn't be surprised if they win. I'll be surprised if they win because of Bo Nix, because in my mind, the Broncos have never won a game because of Bo Nix.
Sure. All right, let's go ahead and pick our midseason awards, and then we'll talk about this upcoming week a little bit. I'll go down the list real quick for myself. I think your MVP at this point is Drake May. You talk about most valuable, what he's done for the Patriots, how that passing game has been so productive, has been really impressive. He doesn't do it without his room of receivers, right? Booty, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins. You're talking about 2 former Buffalo Bills in that conversation, which is rough. But no, what Drake May has done to really revolutionize the Patriots and bring them back has been impressive. So I think right now I'd give it to Drake May. Defensive Player of the Year, it's actually fairly easy for me. I think Myles Garrett has been unbelievable. He leads the NFL in sacks right now. He puts up big numbers every year, but this year in particular, he's been on one. So I'd give it to Myles Garrett. Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's tough. There's probably 3 to 4 guys fully in the mix. I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka because it's hard not to. But I do think that when this comes season's end, if what you think transpires where the Buccaneers maybe don't have as strong of a finish as they did a start, I think you could certainly see Tyler Warren emerge with Indianapolis. He's been awesome. He's been one of Daniel Jones's go-to guys. He's been super impressive as well. So I'll give it to Emeka Egbuka at this point in the year. Wouldn't be surprised if Warren took it home by season's end. And then defensive rookie, I'll give it to Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina with the Seahawks.
Baby Chancellor.
I liked what I've seen out of him.
And Offensive Player of the Year?
Oh, yeah.
I've got a feeling I know who it'll be.
Player of the Year. Forget. Yeah, it almost feels like that's MVP. Offensive Player of the Year.
I feel like there's an obvious answer right now. The question is the question should be like Jonathan Taylor or the field, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor might win MVP. So, yeah, right. I'll say Jonathan Taylor. If he doesn't win the MVP, I'll say Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there on Offensive Player of the Year.
It's so hard because sometimes it goes to a quarterback too. But Jonathan Taylor's got to go home with some kind of hardware this year, right?
Right, for sure. assuming there's not some sort of Titanic fall off, in which case the next man up would be like JSN. Maybe you throw.
He's been really good.
He's been fantastic. He's been the best receiver in the NFL this year. You could throw in Jamar, you could throw in Puka.
Jamar's put up big numbers.
Or a quarterback for that matter. But MVP,
Mahomes, I don't know.
That's yeah, true, because Mahomes has all those rushing touchdowns as well.
Right. Josh has a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Right.
I don't think he's going to go home with hardware this year, but I mean, he was the MVP favorite, last week before the Miami game?
Right, because they beat Kansas City.
Right.
So you never know how it transpires. I think it's hard to bet against May for MVP right now, but if I had to give it to somebody else, my pick would actually be Matthew Stafford, because he's been on a stupid tear. What is it? 4 straight games with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like,
yeah, he's
that's crazy. And I'm interested to see how he fares this week against obviously a ferocious Seattle defense. I mean, that's the game of the year, maybe thus far, at least on paper. So I'm really excited to watch that. Side note, weird tangent. They're not getting Brady and Burkhardt.
It's criminal. Who's doing it?
Joe Davis and Greg Olsen, which in my opinion is a better booth. But like, how is that game not getting the national team? You know where they're going?
Where?
Bears Vikings. Why?
That's
ain't nobody want to watch JJ McCarthy play football.
What are Nance and Romo doing this weekend?
Excellent question. I believe they are going to.
I wouldn't be shocked if they went to
Broncos
Buffalo.
Chiefs.
Yeah, they rarely do. Yeah, that makes sense. Broncos Chiefs would make sense. They rarely do a 1:00. Usually they're the 4:25, but not always. Not always.
Right. Whereas usually the Fox A team is a 4:20 game and not a 1:00 game. So the roles are kind of reversed this week. Right. But I would give it to Stafford, if not May, because he's just been remarkably efficient and he's been awesome to watch. Offensive player of the year is Jonathan Taylor's to lose at this point. Defensive player of the year is probably Myles Garrett's to lose at this point. But again, if it was going to go to somebody else, I'm throwing Nick Bonito's hat in the ring.
Okay. All right.
He's been a delight to watch. I mean, him and Jonathan Cooper make for one of the most fun young edge rush duos in the league. And they are just ferocious. I mean, you saw them on Thursday night, obviously against a bad Raiders team. But every time you watch a Broncos game, they are murdering tackles and getting to the quarterback. And Bonito's at the center of all of that. Offensive Rookie of the Year is also probably Emeka Egbuka's to lose. I think you made a great point that if the Colts continue their ascension and the Bucs maybe take a step back, Warren's going to be in the conversation. I think Ashton Genty's finally starting to play really well. He could work his way in there. And if Jackson Dart comes back, I hope he's healthy. He's been a touchdown machine. I mean, in 7 games, he has 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, that's really impressive.
Good. Yeah.
So, he just needs to stay on the field. He's in 7 games, he's been evaluated for a concussion 4 times. So that's a problem.
What do they call him? Him and Cam Scattaboo. Somebody called them like the creatine creatures or something.
Dude, they
headbutt each other's heads.
They headbutt each other with no helmets on.
They're psychos. Scattaboo definitely rubbed. Dart was always a character, but he always didn't really take me as that kind of a character. And then Scattaboo rubs off on him. It's the perfect marriage.
Yes, Scat unlocked Dart in a different way. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think Eamon Warrior's got a shot if he makes a lot of plays and the Seahawks go on this crazy run for the 1 seed. But I think the best defensive player in the league of the rookies has been Carson Schwarzenegger for the Browns. He's one of those players that when you throw on the tape, he is everywhere as an on-ball linebacker. This is a very lofty comparison, so please don't take it as a 1-to-1. But when I watch him, I see a lot.
Wait! Don't tell me. Let me guess. I'm gonna say Luke Kuechly.
I see a lot of Luke Kuechly.
Yo, do I know you, my friend?
He's in the gap. He could get after the passer. For a guy of his size, he moves extremely well. He's got great lateral quickness. You don't expect to see that when you look at him before the snap, and then boom, after the snap, he's everywhere. So if you're going to give it to the player that's maybe performing or has like the splashiest stuff, you could give it to Eman Warrior by season's end. But the most sound, like I think he's been one of the best defensive players in the league this year, let alone one of the best defensive rookies.
Sure.
And that's on a defense that already has Myles Garrett up front and Mason Graham. So
that'd be something if they mopped up with defensive rookie and defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time that happened.
That would be impressive.
And by the way, they got that pick from Jacksonville in the Travis Hunter trade.
That's right.
So move of the year, in my opinion, was the Travis Hunter trade, but for Cleveland, not for obviously Hunter's now out for the year, wishing him a speedy recovery. They turned the second overall pick into Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, and Carson Schlesinger.
Yeah.
And others.
Yeah.
And a first round pick next year. Who knows what that turns into? So that the early returns on that are fantastic.
Yeah.
If you're the Cleveland Browns.
1000%. That was a fun exercise. This upcoming week, what are we thinking for the upcoming week for the NFL? Some of the biggest games. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Your boys are going out there. Starts tonight, Thursday night football. Unfortunately, the Jetropolitans are probably going to get curb stomped by the Pats in New England in their nor'easter uniforms, which I hate to admit, but are really good.
Phenomenal.
Really good. I mean, like top tier. I'd love to hate watch the Patriots tonight. I don't think it's going to last beyond the first 10 minutes, though, because they'll probably be up 3 touchdowns. So the Pats will go to 9-2, you'd have to think. Bills Bucks is a big one. Man, the Panthers, if they want to like stay in the race, have to beat the Falcons this weekend. And Atlanta just keeps losing to everybody by 1 possession, sometimes 1 point. So that's kind of a fascinating game, actually, to me in the 1 o'clocker. Bears, Vikings, whatever. Bengals, Steelers is fascinating. If the Bengals can find a way to stay afloat here before Joe Burrow's return, he's thinking Thanksgiving, which blows me away, but it's awesome. Chargers play the Jags. Seahawks, Rams is the marquee matchup of the weekend.
Maybe the year.
Yeah. Ravens play the Browns. The Ravens offense, I know they've scored 30 points in every game since Lamar's been back, essentially, but I still don't feel like if you watch it, the eye test is there. And now they got to go against that Browns defense we were just talking about. So that's a tough one. Chiefs Broncos is a huge game. Kansas City 3.5-point favorites at Mile High. That kind of surprises me. I'm definitely excited to see Chiefs Broncos. Lions Eagles, also a massive game. It's a pretty healthy slate this week, dude.
It's a great slate.
One. Yeah.
One of the better slates of the week. Bears Vikings will be interesting to see. Like, listen, I got to give him credit. I think Kale's been playing well lately. He's been very clutch for them. Yeah. They're counting on him in the fourth quarters of these games, and he's coming through. Now, granted, it's the Bengals and the Giants.
Sure.
One team that just fired their head coach, and the other that should have fired their head coach long ago. And both of them had backup quarterbacks playing in the game. So there are asterisks here, but I'm not going to ding Caleb because of the quarterback that's playing against his defense or anything like that. Like they have been very clutch, and the Bears have quietly won 3 games in a row now. So
yeah,
I think this is going to be a great slate to show us who's like the real of the real. You know, if the Seahawks go on the road, admittedly not to a difficult environment, and beat the Rams, they are the real of the real. If the Lions go on the road,
a shame that environment stinks.
I mean,
like a playoff game in LA is not going to hit the same.
No, but there's nothing they can do about it. Like,
no, they should have never left St. Louis.
You are right about that. That's for sure. If the Lions go beat the Eagles, if the Broncos beat the Chiefs, like we're going to have to start thinking about things differently.
If the Broncos beat the Chiefs, Kansas City's in trouble.
Yeah, they're going to be 5-5.
They're not in the playoffs as of right now. They're in the hunt.
No, they're not currently in the playoff picture.
If they lose to the Broncos, we're giving them so much grace because they're the Chiefs, but they really can't mess around. Like,
and I don't think they will, by the way. This is Andy Reid coming off a bye. I know Sean Payton is Sean Payton, and they're coming off a mini bye, and they haven't traveled in a while. This is their only game in a 23-day span.
I'm surprised that the Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites.
I'm not, because Vegas will always put this level of respect on the Chiefs. And I think Vegas is telling you, like, Bo Nix ain't doing nothing against this Chiefs defense.
Yeah.
I know Denver played Kansas City close last year in the one game between both of the starting lineups when the Chiefs won on the blocked field goal. That was in Kansas City as well. But this Chiefs offense is so much further ahead than that one was, and they're coming off a bye, like I said. So I think you give Reed a week to prepare for this defense, an extra week to prepare for this defense with a full set of weapons at his disposal. The Chiefs should get the job done there. So in these big games, like, I'll take the Chiefs to beat the Broncos. I'm going to take the Lions to beat the Eagles on the road. I think the Eagles are a total paper tiger. They got so much weird stuff going on in that locker room, as always. But maybe the more likely
got some weird stuff going on.
Maybe the more likely outcome is that AJ Brown has a 15 catch, 150-yard, 2-touchdown game, because every time stuff is wonky with him and Jalen, they play buddy ball to prove a point. I'm going to take Seattle to beat the Rams.
I don't hate it at all. I like it.
Like,
I do think that LA's got the better quarterback, and that's the only thing that gives. But Seattle's got the better defense in my eyes.
I mean, we saw what this Rams defense did to Sam Darnold in the playoffs back in January.
We did.
So now you can either get the same result or you can get a different, more inspired Darnold. I think the latter is more likely. The thing I'm most excited to watch in this game, though, the wide receivers go at it, Puka and JSN.
Yup.
And then the two young, outstanding defenses go at it against these veteran quarterbacks. That's going to be a blast to watch as well. Not a big game, but I'm going to take the Vikings to beat the Bears just because I already saw it happen once this year. That was with JJ McCarthy in the lineup. And I just feel like JJ is going to be like this up and down, or sorry, 9. We're supposed to call him on Sundays, his alter ego. What a joke, by the way. Why do you play like one game in the NFL? Don't do stuff like that. You're going to lose a locker room very quickly. And then I think the Bills are going to like mollywop the Buccaneers.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like Buffalo just got embarrassed, and I understand they're dealing with injuries right now. The defense is a little banged up, also not playing well as it is, but in a game where I think there will be a lot of points, I'm going to take the healthier offense with the better quarterback to just go out there and cook. I think you're going to get a vintage type of Josh Allen game here.
I need inspired Josh Allen back. Every time they show him on the sideline this year, he's like pouting. And I'm like,
yeah, I haven't seen Josh Allen smile this year.
Where is Josh amping everybody up? Remember that clip of the 13 seconds game when they score the touchdown and he goes to the sideline? He's like, come on.
Yeah, he's like, shoving people around.
We haven't
did Haley Steinfeld zap out his energy? She keeps it in a little jar on her nightstand.
Every time they show Josh, he looks like he's just seen a ghost.
Yeah, he's despondent. I don't know what it is. So I hope we get that too. But I think the Bills actually handled the Buccaneers with ease. I like the Bills to cover the 5.5 this week. I will be waking up early on. So I work late on Saturday night. I won't get home till 2:00. I'll wake up at 9, throw the cup of Joe on, and watch some football. Football in Madrid. Yeah. Battle of Hawaiians. Tua against Mariota. Kind of cool, to be honest with you. And I'm sure you saw the story that McDaniel told of like Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. I did. Yep.
Into sobriety. That's really cool. So the game itself is going to be awful.
Will it though? Might be.
I do think the Dolphins are going to win. I would take the over and just have fun with it. Why not? Let's have some fun in Spain. Shout out to my family who's in the game, in the city for that game. It'll be a fun experience for them.
That's awesome. I'll make a couple of picks here. I'll take the Bills over the Bucks. I think it's going to be closer than you believe, but maybe that's because I just watched every snap of their loss to Miami, New England, and Atlanta, and just don't see it. Like it doesn't look like Buffalo football as of late. I would be so cool with Brian Daboll coming back as the OC. Let's let Joe Brady go get. It was a fun run, Joe. Let's let Joe Brady go get a head coaching job and bring in Daboll as the OC. Some people want them to fire McDermott and bring Daboll in as the head coach. I think a 7-2 start as a head coach and 13-38 to follow is would steer me away from that. But anyway, that would be Dable and Josh Dable's responsible for making Josh what he is in a lot of ways, or what he became early on. So that would be fun. I'll take the Bills. I'll take the Texans defense to not let the Titans get more than a field goal. Like poor Cam Ward this week.
They did shut them out in their first matchup.
Oh, there you go. So maybe they'll shut him out. Poor Cam Ward this week having to play that. Texans have the best defense in the National Football League. Too bad their O-line is awful. I'll take the Bears over the Vikings. I'll take the Steelers over the Bengals. I'll take the Chargers over the Jags. I'm going to take the Rams over the Seahawks. I hear you. I like what you're saying. But I'm going to take the better quarterback, in my opinion, in the matchup. That's Matt Stafford. I'm going to take them. Going down the list here, I'm going to take the Broncos to beat the Chiefs. Going to take the Broncos to beat the Chiefs at Mile High. That would make the Broncos 9-2. That feels preposterous. And the Chiefs
does feel preposterous.
5-5. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we live in the upside down.
Yeah. Lions Eagles. I'm excited for the game. I'll take the Lions to win in Philly. Feels like they need it a little bit more. And as you mentioned, there's unravelings taking place in the Eagles locker room. And it's not even worth talking about Monday Night Football. It's Cowboys Raiders. The buys this week are the Colts and the Saints. All right, brother, where can they find us real quick?
They can find us at Got It Covered FB on all social media platforms. Everything's ratcheting up, so you don't want to miss out on all the action. Check it out. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, MySpace, Napster, LimeWire, at Got It Covered FB is the place to be.
Metallica, Napster.